I just want to say I personally loved working on a cruise ship. It is one of the best years of my life.
It's not all glitz and glam when you come work on a cruise ship. Yes, the money is great. There are a lot of sacrifices you make.
Man, I wish we got paid hourly because we would be making bank on board.
Working for Norwegian Cruise Line was literal hell, and how that whole company got major issues.
For the last few months, it seems like all people are talking about when it comes to cruise ships is the fighting on the ships and Carnival changing its rules. But I always wondered, well, not always, but for the last 2 weeks, I've been wondering, what is it like to work on a cruise ship? And in this video, we're going to discover that. Let's go.
So today is Tuesday, July 16th. So Starboard has this fantastic idea called the Anchor Program, which is to clean all the shops, make sure all the shops are clean and ready and prepped and whatnot, and they think that is going to make money for the cruise lines. This is going to make money for the cruise ships. If you have the shops clean and guests come in and see it's clean, they're going to buy more. And one downfall to Starboard's plan is this. The employees are drained. We work every single day to clean these stores. We are just so completely tired. I get a half-hour break for lunch, and then you work, and then you get 2 hours off to shower, get ready for work, do what you need to do, and then you go to work, and you work till 2 a.m., and then the next day is a sea day, then you come in and do it all over again in another port, and then it's another port where you have time off, but you need to do training in your free time that needs to be done. It's mandatory. If you don't do it, you're going to get a written warning. And then it's another sea day, and then we work all day on embarkation day to do another cleaning day, and then it's 2 sea days, and then we do another cleaning day on the first port, and then who knows from then on. This is not okay. You can't treat your employees like this. I've worked so hard. 1 month I've worked 350 hours in May, and I made less than $1,000. The following month I worked 300 hours, and I still made just over $1,000 in a month. It's not okay to push people to work this hard. In 2 weeks I work 128 hours.
Is this not against the law? Like, is this not against the law? That's my question. Like, I understand you might be, I believe they don't have to pay for room and board. We'll probably see that later on. But still, you have to pay a fair wage, even if, you know, their room and board is free. And that's not it.
And nobody understands. The guests see it. But if Starboard wants to do this and they believe they want to make money, I think the first thing they should focus on is the employees. Because when you walk into a store, if you see a sad employee, an exhausted and drained employee, you're not going to want to shop there. You're going to be like, why is this person so miserable? You're supposed to be happy. This is what you're paid to do. But they don't understand that we work our ass off and get paid very little. And when I asked my district manager why we do all this work and still not get paid, she just brushed it off and said, if you want to leave, leave. I don't care. And that's not acceptable. That's not acceptable. You can't push people to do this. Some people are trying to escape their country. Some people are trying to escape their family.
The absolute craziest thing about working on a cruise ship is learning to deal with the gossip. I mean, these people will gossip about literally anything. And, okay, if you've worked in a restaurant, you understand how the serving community goes. Everyone talks about everyone, like there's always something going on, but imagine that times 10. We all live together, work together, and just share this like crazy experience of working on a moving hotel, basically. Spending that much time with anyone would drive someone absolutely crazy. But the restaurant department, they find a way to gossip about everything. And it's the same for all departments. When being a butler, it's a smaller team, so I don't really see as many people. I don't get to interact as much, so I get left out of some of the gossip. But restaurant, bar, hotel in general, we all see each other 12 hours a day, and then we go to crew bar and we party together, and there's just a lot that happens, and people will spin a story. It becomes like a game of telephone where everyone's passing a message along, like, well, I heard from so-and-so that so-and-so is doing the craziest thing you can imagine. And then you actually talk to that person and they're like, I've never met Steve. What are you talking about? I've had people come up to me and tell me things about myself that I'm like, do I sleepwalk? Like, what is happening? Because I definitely did not do the thing that the rumor is saying I did. Again, I feel like this is something that just naturally happens when you stick 700 people in a ship together and make them work together, live together, drink together, do other things together. And I'm not saying this is the case for everyone. You definitely find your group of friends here, your people that you can trust, and it's not like everyone's just out to stab you. You just learn to take everything with a grain of salt here, and remember, the news cycle turns really fast because people are always leaving, going on vacation, doing this, doing that. So you could leave for vacation and the hot gossip is completely forgotten by the time you come back.
Yeah, that's expected for, people to basically live together, work together. I'm sure it's the same as if you're, in the Navy and you're on the ship. I'm sure it's the same aspect as far as the gossip and everything, because you can't leave. Everybody's right there, living, breathing, working, partying around each other. So, yeah, that drama is expected.
Story time on how working for Norwegian Cruise Line was literal hell and how that whole company got major issues. So I worked there for 6 weeks. I had a 6-month contract. I packed my bags in the middle of the night because I was over it. 6 a.m. that morning, I left. The next morning, I left. And y'all, I don't work there anymore, so I'm going to clock people and I'm going to call out people's name. There was this manager.
Hold on. How do you leave? How do you quit? Somebody explain that to me. How do you just up and leave and quit? I know if you're on port, you can just leave. I get that. But when you're out in the middle of the ocean, how can you just leave? How can you just leave? And even if you are on port, how do you just leave? Like, don't they have security? You know what I mean? Somebody who's worked on a ship, on a cruise line, let me know. Okay, how do you just quit? How? Let's go.
Manager named Mercedes, and she was weird. Actually, backstory: we worked 7 days a week. People on the cruise work 7 days a week. They have 1 night off a month. 1 night off a month, and this is like 12-hour shifts every single day. You do not get a day off. Even if you're sick, throwing up, the only excuse you get off of work is if you test positive for COVID. That's the only way you can get off for work. Next thing, Mercedes. So basically on the cruise, you need like 3 write-ups. Baby, she would just give people write-ups for very weird reasons. One of my friends, she had her hair up, she had her hair down in the elevator. She didn't know she had to get it up because it was like her first week on the cruise. And literally, Mercedes gave her a write-up in the elevator. She talked to her, whatever. The next day, called her in the office for a write-up and was like, you had your hair down in the elevator. And the girl was like, what? Next thing, people would always ask about the food. The food is disgusting. The food is nasty. Next, the rooms had black mold in it. They did not care. The rooms had black mold in it. They did not care. Also, there's this place called Route 66. You couldn't have your headphones in. If you were walking, it was just they would literally try to get on you. They would give you write-ups if you were on your phone. If you had headphones in, write-ups. And it's even if you're off, they didn't care. They would write you up. It was a lot of Filipinos, and basically the Filipinos would talk bad about people in their language, and then they would only promote other Filipinos. They would not promote other people. Also, they would try to write you up for anything. Like, if you were on the clock, they would try to write you up. What the heck? They would try to write you up for anything. My friend Dorian, they made up 3 things and gave him write-ups and got him kicked off the boat. He had to buy a $1,200 ticket. And then my other friend, the manager, was literally cussing him out while he walked off the boat, because basically the Filipinos don't listen to anybody, y'all. They were so rude to other people. They were nice to me, but the managers were mad rude to people. The pay was decent, but for the work you're doing, it's not equivalent. Anyone that works 7 days a week, doubles every day, is gonna get paid decently, but it's not worth the mental, you know?
Okay, these are normal things about working on a cruise ship that I think most people would find a little bit crazy. The first one is all of the safety trainings that you have to do before you even get to the ship. You have to get CPR certified, first aid certified. I have a basic firefighting certification. I got hired as a dancer. The second thing is the drug and alcohol testing. Obviously, I understand if an emergency happens, you don't want the crew to be drunk or high or anything like that. I do get it. They will literally plan a crew party and then the next day at 8 a.m. call people in to get breathalyzed. That's just rude. The third thing is something I've talked about a lot, but that is the price for Wi-Fi. This depends on the ship. I know that some cruise lines give Wi-Fi out for free to their crew members, but most cruise lines don't, and I have seen up to $5 for 1 hour of internet. The fourth one is the medical exam that you have to do. They are taking like vials and vials of blood out of your body. They are doing an ear exam, an eye exam, a full physical. They do a chest x-ray. It's just a lot. Okay, it's just too much. The fifth thing is like the hierarchy within the ship. I understand that there is a system, you know, there's the captain and it goes down from there. But some people are just so crazy about the hierarchy. If you are in an area of the ship that somebody feels like you shouldn't be in, even if you know that you're allowed to be there, they will call your manager. They will make sure that you are allowed to be there. They will check their email, see if they have an email from your manager allowing you to be there. And I just find it a little weird sometimes. Number 6 is how small the rooms are. I honestly don't know how grown men live with other grown men on the ship. That's the thing that I can't get. I don't know. Like, those rooms are so small. I don't know how those like 50-year-old men are climbing into those bunk beds. It's crazy to me. And then number 7 is gonna be dating. A lot of people call it ship goggles. You have these like goggles on, and someone who you probably wouldn't really want to date outside of the ship, you find super attractive on board. You're in a small space, the dating pool is a lot smaller. I totally understand it. It's a totally different way of dating than it is in the real world. All that to say, working on a cruise ship is a little bit crazy, but so am I. So I'll probably keep doing it.
The last thing she said about dating, I can see that a lot of that goes on because, I mean, you're around somebody for a long time, months at a time. You really can't talk to the guests. Y'all can only talk to each other. So there's going to be a so-called love connection or connections during that time. It has to be, you know, just like they do these reality shows where they take this group of people and they seclude them on some island or whatever it is now that they're doing. And you wonder why people would actually fall for each other in that little time that they spend there, because what else are they going to do? It's just them there. So it's a higher chance that a love connection would form during that time. But let's keep going.
Please excuse how rough I look. It's been a long weekend. Man, I wish we got paid hourly because we would be making bank on board. However, most of us are actually under contract. So we have a contract that tells us how many hours that we are allotted to work per day and what that max is. For example, on my contract, I'm not allowed to work more than 11 hours per day, and I get paid each month. I have a little metallic card, kind of in the shape of a credit card, that I use every single day to clock in and out. There's just different stations set around the ship. No matter if I'm going to the theater for 2 hours or if I'm just going to help in the stairwell for like 10 minutes, every single time I'm active on duty, I clock in and out with that card. Then, in theory, all of our hours go up to a head of department that keeps track of all of our hours and makes sure we're not working more than those 11 hours per day allotted per contract. However, I've never seen a breakdown of hours, and I'm sure there are days that I've worked more than that. But there are also days where there's just not a lot to do around the ship, or somebody is sick and they don't work at all. So maybe they take an average of the month. That would be my best guess. So every single month I've made the same pay that is promised on my contract. I do have some friends though that work in commission work, whether in the shops or some people work in like the 40 theater simulators that are all based on sales. And sometimes they get quite a hefty bonus based on those commissions as well. So if you really want to break down the numbers, I'll be super transparent here. My last contract I signed for no more than 11 hours per day, 7 days a week, so that'd be 77 hours a week, and I made $1,500 for the month. So once you do the math, it's probably less than $5 an hour. However, I don't want to talk you guys out of doing it just because of the pay. Because,
like I said earlier, that has to be against the law. It has to be. Her pay coming out to $4.87 an hour. There's no way that's legal. There's no way. There is no. Oh, okay. You don't have to pay for room and board and food, but it looks like you do. It looks like you do. It looks like you do.
because a lot of us on board do it because of the passion, because we get to travel and learn languages and cultures and see the world. And every cruise line pays a little differently, but yeah, a few more dollars will definitely not hurt.
What it's like working on a cruise ship, part 1.
Here's how much money I spend every day as a crew member working on a cruise ship. First though, it's really important to know what I don't spend my money on. And most importantly, that's my room. It's completely free, comes with a job, and certain jobs get certain types of rooms. I'm a solo guitarist on this ship, and that means I get this room, which is really huge compared to most cruise ship cabins. Last contract, I was in a band, so that means I got this room. Both are free, just different sizes. And then there's food. $0 spent on food. I eat down at the crew mess every single day, and I could in theory go to other restaurants on board and spend money, but ultimately I'm here to work and save as much as possible. All right, now that that's out of the way, what do I actually spend my money on? Soda. I know it's really bad for me, but it's just a part of my life, and I buy 2 sodas per day. Comes out to $1.72. Secondly, I spend my money on internet. It costs me $12 a day, and that gets me 3 hours at around 1 megabyte per second or so. If the network is super busy, then it can be a little bit slower. So there we have it. I spend $411 per month for 2 sodas and 3 hours of internet each day.
Not bad. Not bad. But he has a job that's, you don't have to work that much. Just play the guitar. You know, it's different than these other jobs, we say.
It's not all glitz and glam when you come work on a cruise ship. Yes, the money is great. Financially, it's a pleasure. There are a lot of sacrifices you make. It's my 3rd day on board. I'll show you what I'm dealing with. So firstly, the cabin is so small, so I've had to stack suitcases here because I packed so much living here for 6 months. I've got top bunk. Firstly, I've only got 1 curtain, the other half is gone. Don't have a duvet. I have a sheet, so I freeze at night, and I've used t-shirts as my pillow covers because every time I go to the linen room and they tell me come back at 3, we don't have duvets yet, come back at 3, we will give you then pillowcases, we don't have more at the moment. There's 1,300 crew on board. You're telling me for 1 crew member you don't have 2 pillowcases and 1 duvet. I've been adjusting pretty quickly. I just wanted to show you like the real side of being crew. Climbing up this ladder every day, putting my head up here and my back like every night, every morning, hurting my feet on this ladder. The space is really small. You work with like 1 cupboard, everything I can use. Ask yourself the question before you apply for working on a cruise ship. Is this really what you can deal with? Willing to handle this? Are you willing to make sacrifices in order to financially be successful? Willing to make the sacrifices without being negative and without complaining? Then go for it. It's great financially. You work long hours, you work every single day. You do not get weekends, and those are the sacrifices we make. You're away from family and friends. It's tough. So think about it carefully before you decide, I want to work on a cruise ship, I want to travel the world. Yes, you do see many different places within 6 months, but yes, you also go a little bit delulu at some point of your contract.
You heard the sacrifices, all right? Let me know in the comment section, could you work on a cruise ship? I'm not asking, would you? I'm asking, could you? All right? Could you do this and be all right with it? Could you do it? Let me know in the comment section. But let's keep going.
Absolutely. So I just want to say I personally loved working on a cruise ship. It is one of the best years of my life. It was such a great experience, but it is not for everyone because it is a very different life. So for context, I worked for Norwegian Cruise Line. I was cruise staff, which are the entertainment hosts on board, and I worked for them for 1 year. So I did 2 6-month contracts. So I did July 2011 till like February 2012, and then I had about a month off, and then I went back for one more 6-month contract, and then I moved to New York City in August of 2012. I will say that for what I did personally, which I was basically paid to be a social butterfly entertainment host, it is great if you do not have a lot of things tying to you. I wasn't in a relationship. I didn't have any kids. I still don't have any kids. But at the time that I got this job, everything just lined up perfectly. And I was able to pack my life up and live on a ship for a year. And it was amazing. So if you don't have anything tying you down and you would like a different experience, I highly recommend looking into cruise ships because it's an amazing way to travel. You meet some of the most amazing friends and it's a great life experience. And let's take a little step back in time, and I'm going to show you kind of some photos from my ship time. Okay, so this is the ship that I worked on for my first contract, which was the Norwegian Sky, sailing out of Miami. And this contract was kind of boring. It was only to Miami and the Bahamas, which is like a boring itinerary, but it was still a great time. I packed out my entire life for 6 months in like 2 bags and a backpack, and I'm seeing all these people on this 9-month cruise carry like so many suitcases, and a lot of the crew, we know how to pack for a long time on ships because the average cruise ship contract is anywhere from 3 months to 9 months. The longer contracts are usually done by people in other countries, not necessarily the USA. Here's me, just a little wee babe on board. This was my first day on board. I was so excited. This was like a whole new thing. And also, I did not know I was seasick until I worked on a ship. That was fun. That's a story for another day. So living quarters, think college dorm on a cruise ship. I didn't live in a dorm in college, so I guess you could count this as my like dorm experience, but it is tiny. You live in bunk beds, you have 1 shower. This was, I think I got the first bed, the top bed, because the other person that I moved in with was already established. So here was our tiny little room. I will say your cruise director will make or break your contract. I absolutely loved my cruise director, Candy. She's amazing. I don't know if she's on TikTok. If you're on TikTok, Candy, hi, thank you so much. You're wonderful. She was so great as a first step into the cruise ship world. She'd been a cruise director for years by the time I came on board, but here's our little uniform, just a little wee babe. And here are some of my co-workers that I worked with. This is one of my best friends, Erin. I was actually in her wedding right after we got off ship. So you meet some of the most amazing people. This was my team, and this was for a show called Fountains. If you've ever been on a cruise ship and you've seen Fountains, this was the only thing I hated about this job. Like, it's not fun. That was the only thing I did not like about being a cruise staff, was having to participate in Fountains. And I'm going to see if I can find a video of what the show actually is.
First of all, no, this is not. Are they spitting water out of their mouth onto other? I got a couple problems with this. Why? That's number 1. 2, why is this funny? People in the crowd are laughing. At what? What was so funny about this?
Yeah, so that part of the job I did not like, and we had to do that every week. I think there were some points where you could say, like, you didn't want to do it, but most of us had to do it, and if there wasn't enough people, like, there was no option. So that was the only thing I didn't really like about the job. But there's so much more I could tell you. Let me know if you guys have any questions, anything you want to know, and I'll be happy to answer it.
I work on cruise ships 10 months out of the year, but it's not always what it's cracked up to be. So I want to give you my top 5 pros and cons for being a crew member. Firstly, you are literally paid to travel to amazing tropical destinations, which is especially nice in the wintertime if you come from a cold country like me. But in reality, you've only got a few hours to see each place before you have to get back on that ship for the all-aboard time, where you spend 90% of your time. Next, you live absolutely rent-free, but you'll probably live in a tiny windowless box where you can touch almost every wall at the same time. And chances are you'll be sharing the bathroom with someone who's living on the other side. The gyms on board are also free, super accessible, and open 24/7, which is great. But they tend to be really busy on sea days, and if it's rocky sailing, then this makes it pretty difficult to lift heavy weights or even just jog on a treadmill. Each crew member is provided free meals every single day, and the food in the crew mess is actually pretty good. Depending on your job position though, you can get access to the guest buffet where the food just levels up. But the trade-off here is you have to dress guest-appropriate smart clothes, even just to grab a little snack. As for work, I'm extremely lucky as a musician to work just a few hours a week with a lot of time off. But as crew on a ship, we literally live where we work, and it can sometimes feel like you're always working. Unlike with a regular land job, it can sometimes be hard to get away from crowds of people and properly decompress. To conclude, working on ships has a lot of perks, but also its downfalls. It's all about taking the rough with the smooth, in my opinion. Do you think you could do it?
5 things you didn't know about what it's like to work on a cruise ship. Number 1, yes, we do live on the ship. They do provide free housing for us. Majority of people share a room and share a bunk bed with somebody else. The only people that get their own rooms in most cases on ships are singers in the cast, and there's a distinction, and officers and high-ranking people. Housing is also free. You have to work on the ship, and that leads me to number 2. We do not get to go home to our land home. So yes, we are allowed to get off of the ship. We do it all the time when we go to different ports. And if we're based in the United States as our home port, we can get off and go to run errands. Walmart and Target is the favorite of everyone. We get to go to restaurants. You can do whatever you want. But at a certain time, we are expected to be back on the ship because we are starting a new cruise on that same day. So we don't have the luxury of going home, relaxing for a few days, and then coming back 3 days later to do it all over again. Our job is 24/7, 365. I was a dancer and singer on the ships, and we were the only ones that got a day off. The entertainment cast, we were the only ones that ever got one full day off of work. Everyone else on the ship, the servers, the people that clean your room, the people that work at guest services, the officers, they never get a day off. Of course, they got time off. They got a few hours off. And I would always wonder why they wanted to sleep in or do laundry instead of going to these exciting ports we would go to. They never had the energy. And they said, if I have a little bit of time off, I'm going to rest because I have to get back to it. Imagine being on a ship away from your family, your friends, everything that you know, even if you like it, for 9 and 10 months at a time, and you never get a break. Number 4, they do feed us for free, and your girl likes to eat. The least that they could do is give us food. Again, we're living on the sea, we're away from our families, and we're working. We're not there just to have fun or whatever. So they do give us free housing and free food. That means breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day, and occasionally, some snacks in between for when people have a break or they just want a quick pick-me-up and don't have time or want a full meal. So some people have privileges where they can go upstairs to the guest area and eat what you guys eat. And that food is pretty good. The only thing that we ever had to pay for is if we go to a specialty restaurant. So the ships that I worked on had a nice steakhouse, they had sushi, everybody has to pay for those. And also if you want to buy alcohol, and there's the different bar below the ship for us to go and get snacks and alcohol, you do have to pay for that. Number 5 is we do actually have social activities and parties so that we can get to know each other, have fun, take a break, let our hair down, because we work all the time, and it's nice to get to meet people from around the ship that you might not ever see on your normal day-to-day basis. So we've had things like theme parties, bingo nights, talent shows, all for the crew. So the guests are not allowed in these areas, and bingo always draws people in. And I actually won both the money and this tablet the very first time that I played crew bingo, so that was super fun. And it's also nice to just meet new people, and it reminds us that we're actually humans. We're not just robots that get up every day to work and make the ship an exciting place for you. Ship life can be like a reality show.
So yeah, I couldn't do it. I've never been on a cruise ship, period, as a guest. Somebody would have to convince me, and it's going to take a lot of convincing to get on a cruise ship, because I just can't be around that amount of people. I don't know what's going on with my headphone. I just can't be around that amount of people for that amount of time, and I could never get away from them. That's like, it just, I wouldn't be able to do it. So I know I wouldn't be able to work on a cruise ship. So yeah, especially the long days, no days off in most cases. No, not I, said the cat or something. I don't know. Hey, thanks for watching this video. Like I said earlier, tell me your thoughts about all this in the comment section below. Give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.